There are moments in life when nothing appears to be changing on the surface. Yet beneath the silence, something profound is taking place. While you continue living your daily life, questioning signs, replaying memories, or wondering whether someone still thinks about you, an unseen process may already be unfolding. Human beings rarely make life-changing emotional decisions overnight. The heart wrestles in secret. The mind creates resistance. Old wounds speak louder than love. Fear argues against destiny. Yet eventually, every soul reaches a crossroads, a moment when it can no longer remain, suspended between longing and avoidance. Someone connected to you on a deep level may have reached that very moment. This decision was not impulsive. It was born from countless nights of reflection, inner conflict, emotional resistance, and an undeniable realization that your presence has altered them in ways they can no longer ignore. When two souls share a profound connection, separation does not erase the bond. Instead, distance often intensifies inner transformation. The absence becomes a mirror, silence becomes a teacher, and eventually, truth rises to the surface. The decision your soulmate has made may not simply change the relationship. It may change both of your lives forever. Because once a soul chooses authenticity over fear, everything begins to shift. What often appears as separation on the surface is, in reality, the beginning of a profound inner journey. When your soulmate stepped back, created distance, or became silent, it may have seemed as though they were moving away from you emotionally. You may have interpreted their absence as indifference, rejection, or even the end of the connection. Yet deep psychological truth suggests something very different. Human beings frequently withdraw, not because they feel nothing, but because they feel too much. Intense emotional bonds have a way of awakening parts of the psyche that have remained hidden for years, and not everyone is prepared for such an encounter. In the beginning, distance can feel like relief. Your soulmate may have believed that stepping away would help them regain control over their emotions. They may have convinced themselves that if they reduced contact, ignored their feelings, or focused on other areas of life, the emotional intensity would eventually disappear. This is a common response when a person encounters a connection that challenges their existing identity. The ego seeks safety, predictability, and control, while deep emotional bonds often demand vulnerability, uncertainty, and transformation. But something unexpected tends to happen during periods of separation. Silence removes distractions. Without constant interaction, the mind loses its ability to focus solely on external circumstances and is forced inward. In that quiet space, memories begin to surface. Small moments once considered insignificant suddenly carry enormous meaning. A conversation, a shared glance, a simple act of kindness, or even a disagreement can return repeatedly to consciousness. The psyche begins reviewing the relationship, searching for understanding. This process is rarely comfortable. During reflection, your soulmate may have encountered aspects of themselves they had long avoided. Old fears of abandonment, wounds from previous relationships, feelings of inadequacy, or deeply rooted beliefs about love may have emerged unexpectedly. They may have realized that many of their reactions had less to do with you and more to do with unresolved experiences from their own past. Such realizations can be unsettling because they challenge the stories people tell, but themselves about who they are. There is another profound truth about deep connections. They act as mirrors. Rather than simply providing affection, they reveal hidden dimensions of the self. Your presence may have reflected both your soulmate's greatest strengths and their deepest insecurities. This is why powerful relationships often trigger resistance. To truly embrace such a connection requires confronting the unacknowledged fears, desires, and emotional wounds buried beneath the surface. As this inner reflection continues, a subtle transformation begins. The person who entered separation is not the same person who emerges from it. Through solitude, introspection, and emotional struggle, your soulmate may gradually come to understand that running from the connection was, in many ways, running from themselves. And once that realization takes root, the entire meaning of the relationship begins to change. As the period of reflection deepens, a painful but liberating realization often begins to emerge. Many of the choices your soulmate has made were not guided by genuine desire, but by fear. This realization can be shocking, because fear rarely announces itself openly. Instead, it disguises itself as logic, independence, caution, or the belief that this simply isn't the right time. Yet beneath these explanations, there may have been a much deeper emotional struggle taking place. Fear has a remarkable influence over human behavior, particularly when it comes to love. Most people believe they are making rational decisions, but the unconscious mind frequently exerts far greater control than they realize. Past experiences, childhood wounds, betrayals, disappointments, and unresolved emotional pain quietly shape present choices. A person may genuinely long for closeness, while simultaneously feeling terrified of what true intimacy requires. As a result, they become trapped in an inner conflict. One part of them longs to move closer, while another part urges them to retreat. Your soulmate may have reached a point where they could no longer ignore this contradiction. They may have begun noticing recurring patterns in their life. Perhaps they realized that every time a relationship became emotionally significant, they created distance. Maybe they discovered a tendency to withdraw after moments of closeness, become overly analytical when feelings intensified, or search for flaws in order to justify stepping away. These patterns often function as protective mechanisms. They are not signs of a lack of love. Rather, they are attempts to avoid emotional pain. For many people, vulnerability feels dangerous. To love deeply is to accept uncertainty. It means allowing another person to see parts of oneself that have long remained hidden. It requires surrendering the illusion of complete control. For someone carrying unresolved wounds, this can feel overwhelming. The possibility of rejection, abandonment, disappointment, or loss may seem so threatening that self-protection becomes automatic. Yet there comes a moment when these defenses begin to lose their effectiveness. Despite creating distance, your soulmate may have discovered that the emotional bond remained. They may have realized that avoiding the connection did not bring peace. Instead, it created emptiness, longing, or persistent thoughts that refused to disappear. The very strategies designed to protect them from pain may have become a source of suffering themselves. This is often the turning point. Rather than asking, "What if I get hurt?" they begin asking a far more profound question. What if my fear has been preventing me from experiencing something deeply meaningful? Such a question has immense transformative power, because it shifts attention away from danger and toward possibility. Once fear is recognized for what it truly is, a response shaped by past experiences rather than an absolute truth, it begins to lose its authority. Your soulmate may now understand that courage does not mean the absence of fear. It means choosing authenticity despite fear. And when a person reaches this understanding, the walls that once seemed permanent can begin to soften, allowing the heart to speak with greater honesty than ever before. After moving through periods of confusion, distance, and inner conflict, your soulmate may have arrived at a realization that can no longer be ignored. You are not simply another person who entered their life. You represent something far more significant. This understanding rarely appears suddenly. It is usually the result of prolonged reflection, emotional struggle, and countless attempts to understand why this connection continues to occupy such an important place within their inner world. At first, they may have tried to convince themselves that what they felt was temporary. They may have believed that with enough time, distractions, or new experiences, the emotional intensity would fade. This is a common response when a relationship awakens powerful feelings. The mind often seeks simple explanations for experiences that touch something profound within the psyche. Yet certain connections resist simplification. They continue returning to consciousness, demanding attention and understanding. Your soulmate may have noticed that despite periods of silence or separation, thoughts of you persisted. Memories remained vivid. Certain places, songs, conversations, or even ordinary moments unexpectedly brought you back into their awareness. These experiences can become impossible to dismiss, because they reveal that the connection exists on a deeper level than ordinary attraction. Time and distance may alter external circumstances, but they do not necessarily diminish the psychological significance of a meaningful bond. As this realization deepened, your soulmate may have begun asking themselves difficult questions. Why does this person continue affecting me so profoundly? Why have I not been able to simply move on? Why does this connection feel different from others I have experienced? Such questions often lead to an important discovery. Some people enter our lives not merely to provide companionship, but to initiate transformation. Your presence may have challenged them in unexpected ways. You may have encouraged growth, exposed hidden insecurities, or inspired them to examine parts of themselves they had previously ignored. Deep relationships often act as mirrors, reflecting both our strengths and our unresolved wounds. While this process can be uncomfortable, it is also profoundly meaningful, because it creates the possibility for psychological growth and greater self-awareness. Gradually, your soulmate may have recognized that what they share with you cannot be measured solely by external circumstances. The connection has become intertwined with their personal journey. It has influenced how they understand love, vulnerability, identity, and even themselves. This recognition carries significant emotional weight because it forces a person to acknowledge that certain relationships leave permanent marks upon the soul. As a result, an important inner decision begins to form. Instead of denying the significance of the connection, minimizing their feelings, or pretending indifference, they may choose to accept a simple but powerful truth. You matter deeply to them. This decision may not immediately manifest through dramatic actions or declarations. Many profound realizations unfold quietly within the psyche before they are expressed outwardly. Yet once this truth is fully accepted internally, it becomes increasingly difficult to continue living as though the connection has no meaning. The emotional landscape changes, and with it, the possibility of an entirely new chapter begins to emerge. Once your soulmate has accepted the truth of what they feel, an important shift begins to take place. Inner decisions are never isolated events. They do not remain hidden quietly within the psyche without influencing the outer world. Every genuine realization initiates a process of transformation, and this transformation often extends far beyond the relationship itself. When a person stops denying what their heart knows, their entire way of relating to life can begin to change. Your soulmate may now find themselves questioning patterns that once seemed normal. Behaviors that previously provided safety may no longer feel satisfying. Emotional walls that once appeared necessary may begin to feel restrictive rather than protective. This can be a deeply unsettling experience because human beings often build their identities around familiar patterns, even when those patterns create suffering. Letting go of old defenses means stepping into unfamiliar psychological territory. One of the first changes may involve increased self-awareness. Your soulmate may begin recognizing how certain fears, beliefs, and automatic reactions have shaped their relationships for years. They may see how avoidance, emotional withdrawal, excessive independence, or difficulty expressing feelings have prevented them from experiencing the depth of connection they truly desire. Such realizations can bring both relief and discomfort. Relief, because they finally understand themselves more clearly. Discomfort, because awareness creates responsibility. Once a person sees their patterns, it becomes difficult to continue repeating them unconsciously. This growing awareness often inspires a desire for change. Your soulmate may feel compelled to communicate more honestly, address unresolved issues, or express emotions that were previously suppressed. They may become more willing to engage in difficult conversations rather than avoiding them. The need for authenticity becomes stronger than the need for self-protection. This does not mean that fear disappears completely. Fear may still arise, especially when vulnerability is involved. However, fear no longer holds absolute authority over their choices. At the same time, External changes frequently begin to mirror internal transformation. People often reorganize aspects of their lives when profound emotional truths emerge. Your soulmate may reconsider priorities, reevaluate existing relationships, or make decisions that align more closely with their deeper values. They may seek personal growth, invest more energy in healing old wounds, or distance themselves from environments that no longer support their emotional development. Transformation within the psyche naturally seeks expression in the outer world, yet it is important to understand that this process is rarely linear. Growth seldom occurs in a straight line. There may be moments when your soulmate moves forward with courage, followed by periods of hesitation or uncertainty. Old defense mechanisms may temporarily reappear, especially during emotionally intense moments. This does not necessarily indicate failure or regression. Psychological transformation often unfolds through cycles of progress, resistance, reflection, and renewed effort. Beneath these fluctuations, however, a deeper movement is taking place. Your soulmate is gradually becoming someone capable of relating differently, not only to you, but to themselves. The decision they have made has initiated a reorganization of their inner world, and when the inner world changes, external reality inevitably begins shifting as well, opening possibilities that may once have seemed impossible. Perhaps the most profound realization in any deep soul connection is that love is not merely about finding another person. It is about becoming the person you were always meant to be. Your soulmate may now be discovering that this connection was never solely designed to bring comfort, romance, or companionship. Instead, it arrived to awaken something dormant within them. And once this awakening begins, life can never return to what it once was. Many people enter relationships seeking completion. They unconsciously believe that another person will fill an inner emptiness, heal old wounds, or provide the security they have struggled to find within themselves. Yet truly transformative connections often challenge this expectation. Rather than immediately bringing peace, they expose unresolved pain. They illuminate hidden fears, unmet needs, and neglected aspects of the self. In doing so, they invite both individuals into a journey of profound personal growth. Your soulmate may now understand that meeting you initiated exactly such a journey. Before this connection, they may have been living according to familiar patterns, routines, and beliefs about love. Much of life may have felt predictable, even if it was emotionally unsatisfying. But your presence disrupted that psychological equilibrium. You may have challenged their assumptions, awakened long-forgotten dreams, or inspired them to question who they truly are beneath the roles they have been playing. This kind of awakening is rarely easy. Growth often begins with discomfort because it requires the dissolution of outdated identities. Your soulmate may have discovered that they can no longer continue living in ways that once felt acceptable. Relationships based on superficiality may no longer satisfy them. Emotional masks they once relied upon may begin to feel unbearable. The connection with you may have shown them a deeper standard of authenticity, making it difficult to return to old ways of being. At the same time, you are likely undergoing your own transformation. Deep soul connections are rarely one-sided in their psychological impact. Just as your soulmate has been forced inward, you may also have been invited into greater self-awareness. The periods of uncertainty, silence, or longing may have encouraged you to examine your own fears, attachments, expectations, and emotional patterns. In this sense, both souls become teachers for one another, even when separated by distance or silence. An important truth gradually emerges through this process. The purpose of such a connection is not dependency, but individuation, the unfolding of one's most authentic self. Instead of losing themselves in another person, both individuals are called to become more whole within themselves. Only then can they truly meet one another from a place of authenticity rather than need. Your soulmate may now be realizing that the future of this connection depends not merely on feelings, but on growth. Love alone cannot sustain a